Welcome back to Creating Cooperative Kids. I'm your host, Bill Corbett. If you're just joining us, regular viewers know that I usually use this last segment to answer viewer questions that come into my email box. So to send me your parenting questions, simply send an email to questions@cooperativekids.com, and perhaps I'll select yours at a future episode. First, let me introduce my panel of guests. Dr. Clint Steele is the founder of the Pay It Forward 1 Million Times project based in Portland, Maine. Jim Bouchard is a professional speaker and author of the book Think Like a Black Belt, and also from Portland, Maine. Tommy Maloney is a dad, a parent educator, and an author of the book 25 Tips for Divorced Dads, and lives near Denver, Colorado. And finally, Jeff Londraville is an educator and author of the book The Filter, and lives near Springfield, Mass. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, Bill.
So what I want to do with this is I've taken a bunch of questions from viewers, some statements, and I just want to throw them out and throw them at the wall and see if they stick, kind of thing, right? So one of the ones that I found was someone said, and I'm not sure where I got the testosterone surges that boys experience blunts their fear, making them more susceptible to dangerous behaviors that both invoke and result from anger. Feels like a game show.
Yeah.
Somebody start the counter.
You're the psychiatrist, right?
So what do you think of that? What do you make of that?
All right, I'm going to start and wing it. My son is only 10, so I really can't speak to, a teenager just yet. I know it's right around the corner. I do have a 16-year-old bonus daughter, so that's another segment, another story, another show. But as a hockey coach and a son who plays hockey, one of the things that we stress big time, and I know Jeff will agree with this, and the good Dr. Clint will say, you got to go and have fun. I mean, sports has to be fun, and that's the bottom line. Personally, I've seen bad coaching, and I think to your viewer's question about the testosterone, I think it's we have to win. We have to win every single game, and if we don't win, you guys are going to do laps and things like that. It starts as not only a parent, but as a coach, to stress to the kids, go out, have fun, but let's learn fundamentals at the same time.
Yeah, I would also add that everything's a teaching moment, but it's also how you speak about the teaching moment. And in any certain situation, how you go about it. If you're always looking like you're preaching to a teenager or anybody younger about what you've learned there, what was that all about, then, it becomes a little monotonous. But if you say in the right words, what have you learned there, you're always making a child better. Every time I put my daughter to sleep, she's 8 years old, and I've been doing this since she was 2 years old, is I say, honey, sleep good, wake up better. And ultimately, I want her to sleep good from the day that's happened. We go over the day what's happened and wake up better, that she learned more the day before. And I'll say that to her until I don't get to put her to bed anymore. And I think that's important, because there's no certain age to start, and there's no certain age to stop. Everything's a learning moment, but it's also that communication, that openness that you have with them.
Oh, I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Anthony Wolfe some time ago, a couple of years ago, and he's the author of the book, Get Out of My Life, But First Can You Drive Me and Cheryl to the Mall?
Right.
It's a great book on adolescence. One of the things that Dr. Wolfe taught me was that the reason that teenagers can sometimes be like trying to give a cat a bath is because they first have to shed the image of their baby self. That's how they grow in adolescence. In order for our kids to become the great adults that they will be, they first have to psychologically get rid of the image that they were once a baby. And of course, with that shedding, guess who's attached to the baby self?
That's right.
The parents. And that's when they develop what he calls an allergy to the parents, which causes them to behave in what we would think is unusual ways, but to them it's very normal. And the two things that I think what Dr. Wolfe pointed out was that girls begin to become allergic to the parents and shed their image by drawing lines every day, moment to moment, in your face. Whereas boys begin to separate more, and that's when you find them in their room more often, and then of course it becomes awkward for them because they discover their mom's a girl, and they kind of, Mom, don't stand so close to me. It's just weird. So they're saying teenage boys need a lot of structure. One of the things that they need. Girls don't seem to need a whole lot of structure, but boys do. Both parents need to know where he is at all times. Now, I talked about that. I want to throw that out there. I don't know about you, I drive down my neighborhood, through my neighborhood, and there's like boys on bikes all over the place. Sometimes they look like they're up to a little bit of mischief, and sometimes they're not. But with that statement that parents should know where they are at all times, what do you think about that?
One of the things I always tell a lot of teenagers within education and within a lot of my speeches is, you're teaching people how to treat you. Every time you go anywhere, whether you're in the streets, whether you're at school, you always have more control than you think you do. Teenagers don't think they have control. They're in this bridge of childhood to adulthood, and you're trying to hold their hand through it and then when to let go of their hand so they don't fall off the bridge. And it's very important, but it's also stressful because it's a touch and go. I want to hold on their hand more. Oh, should I let them go? Should I be more responsible? So it's a touch and go, and it's obviously a difficult time for not just the teenager, but the parent as well. So, I think always stressing at a young age, even through teenage years, through adulthood, you're teaching people how to treat you by the way you talk, by the way you walk, by what you dress. You have more control than you think you do. Now, people will be unfair to you at times, but you still have more control than you think you do. I think that's really important for a teenager to understand because they think everyone's being on them, telling them what to do.
Spying on your kids, so to speak, or monitoring where they are, that's an act of caring. And I think that's something that needs to be communicated. The kid might push back and say, why are you in my face all the time? Don't you trust me? And that's what, that deserves a response. And the response would be, it's not that I don't trust you. It's that it's a dangerous world, there are things going on, and it's part of me trying to help you be a productive, happy person later on. It's an act of love. It's not an act of spying, or however you want to say it. Yeah.
And I don't mind using spying. And I actually, I've told my kids that I'm doing it. So it's not like it's a secret thing, so that they know, in all fairness. But it's so important, and I think parents forget because in the adolescent years, why don't we let kids drive until about 16 and a half, 17? Why? Because the prefrontal cortex, part of the brain, is not fully developed. Right. And that's the part of the brain that says, okay, if I do this, this is going to happen. They're unable to connect that oftentimes. So that's why it's important, like you say, we should monitor what they're doing because they just don't yet have that ability to look long term.
Right. Can we step back to that parental aversion syndrome there, right? Because in my experience, I found that especially teens are more averse to parents who are trying to be like them. Whether it's the mom who's wearing the teen clothes, the dad who's acting like he's part of the baseball team, something like that, right? If we want kids to develop into responsible adults, we have to model that behavior. Whatever happened to lead by example, right?
Definitely.
And not all the time. You can play certainly, but there's times when we're supposed to really show them how to be adults, and I think that's critical.
And I think part of it too is what Jeff said earlier. It's a lesson. You're letting these kids learn, yeah, maybe at 16 they're not ready to drive yet, at 17, and they're still learning these lessons, but it's important to set them down and keep tabs on them, but especially for boys, I think it's part of their manhood, though, growing up and kind of distancing themselves from the parents and becoming their own person. I think that's important, especially for a man at an earlier age, 17, 18, but it comes back to, like what Jeff says, is making sure everything has a lesson in it, and making sure that they understand this is what we learned from this. This is don't make the same mistake again. Yeah, and until you've learned that lesson, we're going to keep tabs on you. We're going to keep an eye on you.
Things may have turned out different if tabs had been kept on some of us.
Well, I think it all boils down to, this show started off on a positive note. Dr. Steele here talking about paying it forward. How simple is that to teach a kid one little life lesson, right? That little nugget, and how huge it's going to be for them in their lifetime. I know you were bringing up the coffee thing. I do that. I love doing that. And the people at the coffee place go, thank you, because they know now the next person in line is going to do it. Then the next person in line. So the bottom line I see right here is, we as parents, we need to think about paying it forward. We need to think, because when our kids see us in our worst moments, they're going to emulate that. They're going to see us. But if they see us in our most positive moments, they're going to take that and it's going to be a life lesson that's bigger than they'll ever realize.
How about just being polite? I mean, that's a lesson that's lost so much now. And you know, you were saying something about this earlier, Dr. Steele. It's the small examples where kids will walk by an adult and not even say hello, not even acknowledge. I always ask my kids in the martial arts program, what's the 2 most important words in martial arts? And the answer being pay attention, right? And if we pay attention to the world around us, we see much less ugliness and more beauty in it, right? But we have to teach kids that. They don't know it by them. They don't lick it from a rock.
I want to make one remark, and then we're going to have to, we're out of time, but Jim, you made a remark about kids of being their aversion to parents when we're trying to, or look like them, or treat like, one of you said that. I remember one day I had my stepdaughter, and I was trying to say something like she does, and she goes, don't, just don't. And it's like she owns that phrase, and we shouldn't be using it.
Like we should say like.
Well, bonus daughter, my bonus daughter. I can't wait to get home. It's going to be my bonus daughter. So listen, guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out and being on the show, and I hope parents pick up 1 or 2 pieces of information and to help them in the toughest job that they have is raising, whether it's teen boys, teen girls, just raising kids in today's world. It's a war zone out there in many cases. So thank you for all that you do in your communities and across the country.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for what you do.
In today's show, we learned a great deal about raising teen boys and how to set them up for success. I hope you'll tune in to future episodes of this program as I offer more tools to help you rebuild your parenting toolbox as an awesome parent or teacher. If you're watching this on DVD or online and you'd like to get it in your local public access channel area, contact my office to find out how. Making the world a better place to live begins at home as engaged, encouraged, and masterful parents. I'm Bill Corbett. I'm going to see you the next time on Creating Cooperative Kids.
I'll go to sleep with the lights off tonight, even though I'm scared of the dark. I can lick that thing under my bed with one hand. I know I can. In my heart, I'm gonna be big. I'm gonna reach real high. I'm gonna blaze a trail of my own across the sky. I just need some time.